Hello and welcome to One on One. I'm Vernon Ramerson. I'm very thrilled actually to say that my guest today is fashion icon Meiling, and she warned me not to say the word icon. Finally. We've been friends for so many years, and yet I've never had you on.
No, I haven't been.
And you've got a life that's such an interesting life as well. You've contributed so much to this country in terms of design and how we view ourselves in terms of fashion. When you look back on your life now, and obviously you have many years ahead of you, I mean, do you have a sense of how much you've achieved?
I would say quite recently. I've been thinking about it, and I've always said that my legacy would, what I would like my legacy to be is that I would have changed the aesthetic Caribbean fashion somewhere along the way, and I think I have to a certain extent, along with other designers with me, and also that I would have some sort of influence on the young people who want to follow in my footsteps. And I mean, when I got the national award, that really, I was really honored, I was really surprised, and I suppose I have made a mark in some way.
Did you think people actually noticed when you got the award? Did you think, my God, they noticed?
The strange thing is that people did notice, and I mean, Heather Jones was the first one to get it. And then I got it 2 years ago, and then Claudia got hers this year, it was quite strange because after Claudia got hers, everywhere I went, people would say, congratulations. I don't know, Trinidadians don't really listen. So I had to say, oh, yes, or they would congratulate me then about, what I've given to the fashion scene in Trinidad. But I have to say, no, it's not, it was Claudia, we had Heather and myself got ours before. So I think they noticed, I think, especially since our new Prime Minister has sort of put the stamp of approval on the industry, I think people are noticing more and seeing that fashion could be serious, not about just pretty clothes, that it can, what should I say, the industry can be revived again once more, and it can be a way of giving jobs, new jobs, to, and now we have the Fashion Academy of Fashion and Design, really, Academy of UTT, and I mean, there's a BA program, there's a diploma program, and so hopefully we will have the industry churning again.
Now, you mentioned the new Prime Minister. How important is it to have a Prime Minister who actually does use the word fashion and actually says she's committed to wearing
I think it's wonderful. I think, I mean, our last Prime Minister's wife also wore the local designers, I have to say this, but to actually have that stamp of endorsement and saying that she's willing to wear what we're wearing, it's very heartening, because I feel we have been trying to get fashion to be approved as another sector, like they're paying attention to music and film and food, entertainment, and we want fashion to be also one. So I think we are on the way of getting there, and we were mentioned in the budget, and the Minister of Trade says that he's behind us, and the Minister of Finance, he met with all the designers and people in the arts, and he said that he was willing to back us in terms of marketing. So, I mean, it's going to all sort of reveal itself, I think, as the year goes on. I mean, the budget just happened like a few weeks ago, so we are waiting to see now how it will all unfold. But it's great that she's wearing local designers. I mean, if you think of Michelle Obama and what she's done for the fashion scene and for unknown designers in America, that this may happen.
Or even Jackie Onassis long before
absolutely, her. Absolutely. So I think it's really good, and I mean, she's a beautiful woman and she wears clothes well. I think she's been wearing Claudia so far. She wore Claudia in America, and this is good.
Well, let's talk about you. And you mentioned the fact that you would hope to influence the Caribbean aesthetic, and you certainly have.
Yes.
But in many ways, you've bucked the trend for many years, haven't you? Because when people previously thought of Caribbean clothing, it was all about fluorescent colors and floral prints.
This is what they really don't get it. I mean, they think, I mean, I remember being invited to go to show at the Pret-a-Porter in Paris many, many years ago. And I was one of the designers going, and they called me in. I mean, I had 6 weeks notice, and they said, so what are you going to show? So I said, well, I'm going to show my white linen shirts. And they couldn't quite get it. And they said, you're not going to show tie-dye? And I went with another designer, a foreigner who worked out of Trinidad, who did batik. But when we got there, people paid attention to what I did. That is how I broke into the export market. I got an order from St. Martin by this French woman. Because when you think of people who do tie-dye or batik, I mean, the Indonesians are the masters of it. So how can we, in any way, think that we can compare or could in any way compete with them? To me, it's my aesthetic. I may be wrong. I mean, I think people also think of the Caribbean, they think of Trinidad especially, they think of carnival, they think of bright colors. But my thing is about cool sands and breezes,
But
and
you
this is
can't
how
be
I
wrong
feel
because you
it.
are a Caribbean person and that is your feeling.
Yeah,
isn't it?
but you know, the Caribbean is made up of many different
Right.
people, you know. What they thought of, and probably I'll tell you, the collection I brought here that
Which we're going to show very
which
shortly.
we're going to show,
Yeah.
you know, I was invited to Barranquilla in Colombia in March, and I showed a collection there. First begin, it was quite an amazing trip, because as I looked around and walked through the malls and so before, you know, I kept saying to my assistant, are they staring at me? And oh no, she said to me, Meiling, I think they're staring at you. And I said, well, probably it's the hair and the glasses and they're all black. Then I realized that there were there were no Chinese. I have a little bit of Chinese way.
Right.
So that was it. But when I showed my collection, they kept coming to me and saying, you're from China? And I kept saying, no, I'm from the Caribbean. I have Chinese blood. And they said, but how come your collection was so conceptual? Because this is what they expected. They expected bright, and you know, I mean, they got it in Heather showed with me, and hers was very bright.
Right.
So they could see that there were two
And you
different
have had
aesthetics.
collections with some bright colours in them.
Of course.
But it really isn't you.
No, it isn't.
Because one
me.
thinks of ecru and black and white and
Very,
really
very
cool,
neutral.
coolness.
Cool.
So how did you get that aesthetic? I mean, you grew up in the same place the rest of us grew up in. We often think about bright colours and.
Yeah, probably because of first again, I grew up in my mother's atelier, basically, because she was one of Trinidad's leading dressmakers. So I grew up in her studio among the bright colors of fabric and buttons and zips and the whirring of machines. And I don't know, I always, as a child, always tend to go towards white, and I always thought clean and crisp and cool. And I think also because my personality tends to be quite calm, no, I'm not saying that I don't get stressed out and crazy, but it was my own aesthetic. And I remember that I was always drawn, although I wore a uniform, the convent uniform of St. Joseph's Convent, St. Joseph, that was always white, crisp linen shirts or cotton shirts with blue pleated skirts. And I have this thing, if you say like I only wear black now, I always tend to wear a uniform. It's one less thing to think about, and I suppose it's on my own personal aesthetic. That
and it becomes a
came
trademark
out.
for you as
yes,
well, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely.
Well, perhaps we can run the video because perhaps some people don't know what your fashion looks like. That would be kind of amazing if they didn't.
Well, maybe
but
not.
we can certainly run it because I think this year's collection was really interesting because you've gone for that dark look again.
And also, too, it's the first time I've done an all-black collection, which was a surprise to many people.
And we can sort of see it here.
Yes, and this is actually from the catwalk in Barranquilla, Colombia, and my inspiration was origami. I mean, you can't really see it in this one, but probably some others you'll see.
So you're talking about structure then? When
structure, and I love Japanese culture. I love Japanese art. And I always wanted to play I was always fascinated by the art of origami and the pleating and the tucking of it. And the fabric that I used was organdy, which also shows. I don't think we can see it really well
because
here,
perhaps the nature
but
of
it was, yes, the nature of the film. But it was something I was brave enough, probably took me all these years to be brave enough to do an all black, probably that I could test it out of Trinidad, and they understood
why
it
would it have taken so many years, given
because
that you yourself
most
were it?
Yes, but most Trinidadians don't like it. They like the color. I mean, there are those people who
But
wear
fashionistas worldwide love black.
Fashionistas will. I love black. I mean, so it was really very, very well received. I mean, in all the magazines, they had, and they were designers from all over South America, and I mean, well-known designers, but I got a full page in one of the magazines, which was like the Vogue of Brazil, saying that they were so shocked to see such a conceptual collection, and it was very artsy, and so it was good for me. Sometimes, Vernon, it's good to test your metal out of Trinidad. Sometimes I feel that I'm this big fish in a very, very small pond.
Well, let's talk about that, because, I mean, to some extent, do you think you've limited yourself and your career by being based here? I mean, could you have been another Chanel, another Coco Chanel?
Oh, no, please. I mean, Coco Chanel is like my God, and people say, oh, maybe a lot of people have said probably you would have gone farther, or you would have done well, but I mean, think about it. I mean, there's so many other designers, as good, better, not as good as me. I mean, I think, it's being at the right place at the right time, and not saying that you don't have to have some talent, but fashion is all about marketing. If you look at what I see, what other people do, and it's like, sometimes I say, but they have that machinery and the money to market it that makes it the flavor of the month or the week.
When you look at some of your designs, like we're watching them again here,
Yes.
do you sort of pat yourself on the back sometimes and say, I can't believe I came up with that?
Sometimes, and sometimes I think, oh my God, how could I have done that?
I hope I didn't buy any of those.
Of course, I think I am my toughest critic.
But
I have to say this
I can hear it when
collection
you're
really
talking
pleased
now
me.
even as well, because there's almost a sense of self-deprecation when you're talking about yourself.
Maybe, but I just think I'm so hard on myself, and I think two people have taught me, I mean, who have been the people who have really influenced my work. One, my mother, who would like come in and see something that I did and just break it down completely, and I'd always be in tears. And the other one is Peter Minshall, because although I didn't study costuming, I worked a lot with him at Caldo Company and on a lot of his work, and I knew that I would always have to be the one working on the prototypes, and I knew I would bring it in and he would just knock it down, and you would want to either swear, you would cry, or say, my God, why am I doing this? But then when he showed me how to do it, I mean, I redid it and achieved exactly what he wanted. It became very clear. So I have to see, but I think when you're hard on yourself or someone is hard on you, it just pushes you to excellence. And I feel this in the industry is what sometimes upsets me, that, you know, designers, young designers become divas after one collection. I mean, you're only as good as your next. I'm now working on my next collection and I'm thinking all sorts of questions. Am I good? Origami was so strong, noir was so close to my heart and so for me, fulfilling, that I don't know how I'm going to top that one.
Do you think fashion gets enough respect in our society?
I think fashion gets a lot of respect from our consumers, but I don't think designers get respect.
And why is that then?
I think it's just not being educated or not understanding, or as I was just saying, discerning to know what a designer does, how special it is, how something that is made to measure is much more precious than something that is just bought off the rack. Not that I don't sell off the rack, but the attention that, or if someone comes in and has something especially made, with 2 fittings or 3 fittings or a wedding dress, I don't think they compare it so easily to something that they can just pull off the rack.
It's not just clothes really when you think about it, is it? Because really it's our image as individuals.
And I also think in a way it's like almost contempt for who we are, and they would prefer to wear an imitation, say Armani, Versace, or sometimes, you know, you see, it's so funny, sometimes you see Prada, but there's an A, it would be an O, but if you don't look quickly, you think it's Prada. And they prefer to wear an imitation one just because, I think because of cable television, they're so brand conscious now and so foreign brand conscious, so American brand conscious, that we are lost somewhere along the way. In the 90s, or it is, you know, everybody wanted to wear the cloth, or First Chapter Adam, or Claudia, or Helen, and then
or
suddenly,
Meiling,
or myself, and then suddenly cable television came and switched it around. They saw it on MTV, they wanted to rush out and get it. They didn't care if it fell apart after the next.
And it becomes meaningless at a certain point, doesn't
Absolutely.
it? Because, I mean, you're looking at somebody wearing a Dolce & Gabbana t-shirt and you know it's fake. Everybody knows it's fake. They probably paid $30 for it.
Absolutely. But
Neither Dolce nor Gabbana ever saw that piece of clothing in their lives. So what really is the point when you think about it?
What is the point? What I would like to happen is that somehow they can be re-educated and start as what quality means. And it's better to have, and I say this to my clients all the time, it's better to have like few good pieces in your wardrobe than pieces that fall apart after the first washing. And it's also about, I think it's a whole different world we live in with the internet and cable television. It's all about instant gratification. You know, you put a card in a machine, money comes out. You see something on television, you could run down to wherever